What makes up your culture?
Okay, I really don't know how to answer that question in a proper way.
Like what's going in through my head is right? I mean, I am clearly solidly rooted in a Western first world liberal culture. When I think about what colors my everyday experiences, they're much more about the educational and professional experiences of the people that I'm around, my neighborhood, my work, much more than the fact that I have an Asian heritage or, was raised by Asian parents. But at the same time, my mother lives here. And so I kind of feel like, there is this aspect of Chinese culture that kind of permeates my experience that I suspect influences me more than I consciously appreciate. And it's interesting because we clearly raised our kids in a very Western way, right? And so, I often wonder, I suspect that my kids don't see an Asian heritage as a prominent part of their experience. And sometimes I feel like, well, that's a little too bad. Maybe I should have done more. And then part of me says, well, but that's just the reality of the kinds of communities we grew up in. So I shouldn't be surprised. And I do wonder how the fact that Granny has been here for so much of their growing up has colored their perceptions of themselves. But I think overtly, not so much.
For me, I definitely have created, kind of a custom culture, hybridization, and melange, one might say. But the first thing that came to mind, and maybe this is because this is where my mind always is, but food. I think there's so much pride I feel in introducing people to Chinese food. Real Chinese food, sorry, orange chicken. But seeing the delight and the awe that my non-Chinese friends feel when they try something for the first time, and also parts of American culture, so the holidays that we mentioned before, and then other parts of culture that maybe aren't so explicit, or what comes to mind, so with figure skating culture or whatever it may be, so things with my interests. And that's an inherent part of culture. There's so many definitions to it, so many aspects that fall under the umbrella of culture. And so I've taken what I like from each of my identities and I've accumulated them into Alan's culture.
I guess all those things make up me. I'm pretty close with my religious community in the sense that I celebrate with them and not really practice with them. I'm pretty close my family and cultural communities. And a lot of my friends are Indian. We do share that kind of connection. I'm very active in LGBTQ circles, whether that be at the radio station here at UMD or within a certain community. I wouldn't say I'm extremely active, but I will say I try to be. So I think those are the biggest parts of my personality that make it up.
I can advise people, but I don't know if I'm going to anything special about my culture, because I came here to the United States young, okay? So I didn't live too much in my country as a young person to know what is specific. Maybe food, but I don't know how to cook. So I cannot say, culture. The only thing I can think, and to be honest, is dance, because that's what I know how to do it. My faith, my belief in God, I believe in happy life. I know it's not happy all the time, of course, but if you are the type of person that can go through the hard situations, then you'll be happy. I don't know anything else to tell you about it.
The biggest markers of my culture now are words and language. I care deeply about words. I spent years studying rhetoric, studying communication, and studying how people create things out of language, good and bad. And that study has been enriched by the fact that I have within me Vietnamese words and English words. So a deep respect for and practice of language is a key marker of my personal culture. My culture is also deeply intertwined with food and food practices and cookery. And I'm very proud to say that I cook authentic Vietnamese home cooking. And I hope my kids eat it, please. Like, I hope they're not picky in ways that deny them the pleasures of Vietnamese food. But being able to connect with others over food and through sensual pleasure and engaging in community over food is deeply, deeply important to me. And I will guard kind of my Vietnamese recipes, my Vietnamese kind of kitchen practices very, very aggressively, I'm sure, as I continue to get older. And I would say the last, I guess, marker of my culture is understanding that no culture exists in a vacuum, and we can talk all day about my culture and someone else's culture. But I feel like that would be really limiting and deny all the ways in which we are shaped by one another. And as much as I did not enjoy growing up in such a predominantly white environment, that whiteness sharpened my own Vietnameseness. And if we're to have a culture at all, I think it has to be one that learns from other ones, whether that means figuring out who you are, maybe just a little better, or realizing that you could do things differently, and learn from other people around you.
My culture kind of mixed Chinese and American, because I grew up from China. So a lot of things install me, still family very important, and the big change I think I learned is you have to let your kids go. You let them go, they will come back. If you try to control, you end up lost everything. That's what I learned.
The first thing that I thought of was just family, of this like huge notion is that these people will be here for you like forever, no matter what you need. These people are some people that you can always depend on. Unfortunately, I don't often feel like that way, but like it is still, family is still such a crucial part of a Salvadorian and / my culture. With that, there's also like the food / like celebration, because coming from a place where the idea was survive, every little thing is a victory. Having food on your table is a victory. That's why meals are always such a big deal.
I guess first I think about my identity, I guess. So a big part of that identity is my ethnicity, being half white, half Asian. That's definitely a big part of who I am, who I perceive myself to be. Things that I do factor into my identity. So like engineering, STEM, factors into my identity just because of the way I grew up and what I'm doing with it right now.